I think we're ready to start. So today we're going to be giving a talk on expanding on professional partnerships. The tagline is how an unlikely partnership can open up avenues. I'll start with my introduction. Good, uh, good evening, everyone. Today, thank you all for joining. I know it's pretty late. So we're going to be talking about. We're going to go through some slides. I brought Antonio with me, and he'll give a little bit of information about him since I feel like everyone's a little custom with me. Tony, ready to go?
Yeah, boy, hit it.
Our slides, how we met. Our first bulletin point is a chance meeting. So me and Antonio met about a year ago. We met in a Discord server. So like that's how most interactions go online, right? You meet in a Discord server. So we decided at one point to work together. We actually started off doing voice acting content, believe it or not. And then somehow he got me into sound design because my main discipline at the time was vocal mixing. Uh, Tony, do you have anything to add?
Hey,
Okay. So next bullet point is my journey in audio. So I've been doing audio since I was 16. Uh, it started off with just having an interest in. Sorry about that. Me and Tony are in the same facilities, believe it or not. But anyways, I started when I was 16. Uh, I had an interest in audio. It started with vocal mixing. That was my main thing. I spent a lot of time on there. And then all of a sudden, halfway down my career, I decided to switch paths because I needed sound design for a video I was working on, and I didn't really feel like reaching out or hiring anybody. And I kind of like the process. I've already dabbled a little bit beforehand. I really like the process, and I decided to go fully into it. There will be more about my journey here in a sec. But before I take up too much of the stage, next bullet part is Antonio's talent in voice acting and direction.
hello. I'm Antonio Bustos. Let's see here. I've been doing voice acting. I guess I'm going into my third year now. I guess it started. I had someone in my family that actually encouraged, being on stage and singing. So I'm lucky I had that influence in my life. Um, I think all through like high school and even afterwards for community theater, I've been in musicals. Then eventually, one day I was like, hey, let's give voiceover a try. So um, I got the equipment that I needed, got some training, uh, and found a mentor to help me out. Um, let's see here, and at this point, I've got a couple commercials and three or four agencies under my belt. So I'm doing pretty good so far for as long as I've been in it. So next slide.
Yeah, first time speaking to so many people. I'm a little nervous. So this is a nice thing to admit. I have Tomas Struggle with clients. So thankfully, the field I was in, beforehand I was in voice acting, so I tend to work with a lot of voice actors. The main problem tends to be that I just kind of don't understand sometimes their needs and their requirements when it comes to directing, and I kind of lose touch on the basis of what needs to be done. And honestly, it all started with Antonio just having interest. He was like, "Hey, Key, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm making demo reels," and he was like, "You know what? I could help you with that." And believe it or not, he blew me away with the first client. I was like, I cannot believe that you were able to get that type of quality out of a client when it takes me forever. It takes about, think about myself, it usually takes me about a week or two to make a good demo reel. Uh, Next slide, Antonio is going to get more into next bullet point, Antonio is going to get more into the whole process. and how he supports me and everything. Okay.
Thank you. So basically, when I met Key, I realized that he's super talented. He's probably one of the best audio vocal mixers that I've ever heard, and I've listened to a lot of demos. Um, and I realized that, hey, maybe we could um, actually get something going for the both of us, and pay some bills. So I started writing the demo scripts, and offering to direct the talent, so long as the talent has already been trained, because otherwise, we're running a demo mill, and I'm not about that. But yeah, that's essentially how we first started. And then I dealt with people because, I've come from a background of sales, and actually, when you're a voice actor, selling yourself and your services is kind of, it becomes second nature. But I'll get more to that as we get further in.
Okay. Next bullet point is leveraging our strengths for success. I think this is very. I think this is the most important when it comes to having an unlikely duo, because now I'm mostly known as a sound designer more than a vocal mixer, but beforehand. But now we're gonna go a little bit in the middle, and like this is where I think is very important, where an unlikely duo needs to like sit down and just be like, okay, this is our strengths, this is how we're gonna succeed, because he can talk to the voice acting community. I can always talk to other sound people, because there'll be some points where I can't really do everything, even though I try my best to do everything. Sometimes I don't do the best. So we leverage our success by just dividing in the market, and he takes one part of the market, I take another, and we always meet in the middle somehow. It's like doing the tango with extra steps. Are you ready for the next bulletin point, Tony? Okay. Okay. Next one: training and mentorship. Sorry, I had a blow my nose. I had a cough real quick. Okay, video game training and audio mentorship. This one is the most exciting one. I'm most excited to talk about this. So I've joined a lot of game jams. That's how we first got into the video game and like wanting to do this was game jams. And then all of a sudden, I felt like I hit a limitation. And like beforehand, I did audio. I was always self taught, but at some point, I'm just like, this was not really worth it. And the sound design community is so nice, and everyone's so welcoming. I decided to take up a mentorship in audio, because at some point you can only train yourself so much, where you're just like, you're gonna either get burnt out, or you're just not gonna have the lack of wanting to try, because you've already learned so much by yourself. So it would be helpful to have another hand. So I took it up an audio mentorship with Kevin Senzaki. There you go. He's really helpful. The first month I was under our mentorship, he made me improve in ways where I never thought I would in like that short amount of time. And thanks to him, I feel like I got a nice grasp of what I like doing in audio, and like what sound effects I want to focus on. And I feel like I'm more laser focused on each task I do, and I can break it up. Uh, Next bulletin point is joining my first video game development company. So right now I am contracted for a year with a up and starting studio called Fun Waffle. Right now we're making a cool Western zombie game, and I'm really excited. I hope to share some more on Airwiggles here soon. I'm always around on Airwiggles if anyone ever wants to talk to me. My DMs are always open. Our next bulletin point, I'm gonna let Tony take over, representing rural talent.
All right. So one of the things that we're trying to um, attain with getting people who are traditionally in parts of the country that don't typically um, get a hold of the big projects. People who don't live on the coasts, people like in the Midwest or in the South. Um, we usually we're looking toward those people um, to kind of join us for our future projects, that sort of thing. Um, which I'm going to be able to talk about more in the future slide about what we're kind of working toward, and hopefully we can get more talent and help us make more content, that sort of thing. Now, people ask me about my job as a voice actor. And I'm not gonna lie, I usually start by talking about the cool, exciting stuff, the glamorous side of it, and how it feels to bring characters to life through my voice. Uh, but let me tell you, there's more than just it's more than just speaking into a microphone and getting paid. Although, and that is pretty nice. It's an art form. Requires dedication, versatility, and hard work. Um, it's about honing your craft, constantly improving, and navigating a highly competitive industry. And with all that, it's really not enough. You have to kind of take on more roles in order to be successful, if you're able. Um, and I found that as our collaboration grew, I realized there was much more that I could bring to the table here for us. So I took additional responsibilities like directing, as I mentioned previously. My mentor in voice acting had advised me to receive instruction from someone who's been in the industry and understands it. So I went with Judith Weston to learn about directing. And the biggest thing I learned from her was to present the desired performance as a goal. Like, don't tell the actor, "Oh, act afraid." Maybe instead say, the goal is to be afraid. And that sort of allows the actor, excuse me, to put their sort of spin, that like their understanding of the emotions into the scene. And from there, it's much easier to refine the performance. And And I've also been somewhat of a writer. So when it came time to step up as a copywriter for our commercials, um, it came very, very naturally. Um, Being able to set up a proper tone for our commercial was really important. Uh, and these skills have allowed me to contribute in diverse ways in our projects. Um, you know, Creating more comprehensive and impactful experiences for our clients when we try to sell their business to others. And that also brings me to another role that I've sort of assumed as as a business development manager, going out, knocking on doors, finding businesses that need us to tell their story. Um, and this is one of the ways we make our income now, is through small business commercials for the radio. But I'll get more into that a little bit here, I guess. Next slide.
Okay, so knowing your worth is the next slide. This is what I struggle with a lot in the beginning. I'll be honest, if it wasn't for Antonio being here, I don't think this slide would exist at all. When he found me, I was mixing, mastering, and putting together demo reels for $60. It's crazy to think that I did all that work for $60, but at the time, it was my first time getting paid after being a vocal engineer for so many years and not ever seeing a paycheck. So I was like, "Oh, this is very exciting." So I will let Antonio take over since I'm not really the best at this one. So the next bulletin point is advocating for your fair compensation.
Cool. I pretty much knock out this whole slide here. So now, it's absolutely crucial to advocate for fair compensation, and value your time and expertise. You know, the service that you provide is, not everyone can do it. And if they could, they would be, but they're not. In the early days, I had my own struggles with this, but I learned the best way to get anywhere. Um, to let people know that I exist. I did a simple thing and attend a couple of marketing classes. And which, if you've never done that, I suggest you do. And it helped me find access to resources that allowed me to figure out, what industry rates for my market were, and insist on that. And I had to give myself the right to exist as a professional voice actor in this space. And it's really about, just recognizing the value we bring to the table, and having the confidence to ask for what we deserve. It's simple as that. But I sort of kind of bring that mentality to making sure that Tomas, and whoever else works with us on projects, you know they get paid for what they're worth. Absolutely.
Okay, next slide is current jobs, quality demo reels for voice actors. So I'll take on a little bit of this subject and then I'll hand it over to Tonio. So for my job, when it comes to making demo reels for voice actors, a lot of it is just staying up to date on the latest stuff, making sure that we can always push the boundaries. Even though I go in and I do the vocal mixing, I do mixing for the whole entire thing actually, and the sound design, and I do the mastering. Uh, the end goal for all this is just to make sure that the quality products are always going to be available for our voice actors, because we tend to look at the market and there tends to be some holes that need to be filled, and we're always down to make sure those holes are completely paid over and there ain't going to be any accidents going in the future. Right, Antonio?
Well, that's correct. Thank you.
We move on to the next bullet point. Okay, this one is collaborating with local businesses. This will be Antonio.
Gotcha. So, like what I was mentioning before, basically we um, um, knock on businesses' doors. Basically, I think we're doing what the advertisement agencies do, but we don't have their overhead like they have it. So we're able to, market to people who traditionally maybe haven't been able to afford it before previously. Because with internet radio overtaking standard broadcast radio, um, it's just it just makes sense for small businesses to make the switch and get their product or their business on the airwaves, and that's basically what we do. We've uh, we've been Tomas and I have been at this for about a year now. We've just recently got into the commercial side of things, and we've let's see here, we're in the process of making a commercial for a Halloween themed attraction. We've made one for an escape room. Um, and so, I mean, it is the business is out there. It's just the work has to be done to go knock on doors and let people know that you exist. That's basically what I'm finding. Um,
Okay,
yeah.
Next is audio productions. My piece to say on this is I'm always interested to take on anything that's a challenge. I feel like the more challenging stuff we get, the better for me. Uh, one thing, uh, one thing I love to do, and I always feel like I get stumped halfway through, is horror stuff. I love making horror stuff, and I feel like that's a good thing in the future when Halloween comes by. We've already been planning a lot of stuff that we want to put out for on that side of audio productions. Other than that, I'll give it to you.
Thank you. So, in addition to finding commercials, because commercials is well, quite frankly, as a voice actor, that's how voice actors make money, and it's a substantial investment, not only in terms of producing, you know, producing the audio, but in terms of the company marketing, paying for the marketing with our partners, because we partner with Spotify, um, Pandora, TuneIn, and there's a bunch more that I'm forgetting there. But when it comes to audio productions, we've actually got a client here recently that is looking to us to produce an audio drama styled series to promote their science fiction horror game. Um, and so we've got that in the pipeline. We've got us a composer for that. Um, and that kind of ties into like discovering talented individuals. People, people that we come across who are very good at, orchestrating in, um, uh, in the horror genre of sounds, we find particularly useful. Um, but yeah, that's one of the things we got going, and maybe like an Atomi game in the future or something like that.
Should we let's see, discovering talented individuals. I do want to add to that. One thing I push a lot on Antonia for that part of the slide is Midwest talent. I like rural talent a lot. That is that is honestly like the most important thing to me when it comes to my career in the future is to represent talent that really isn't shown a lot. Because I feel like when you get a Midwest, anybody from the Midwest, I feel like we work really hard. Not to say other people don't work hard, but I feel like it's usually a knockout when it comes to Midwest talent, just because most people in those areas are really hungry to make sure they get an opportunity. And if that becomes my future, just give people opportunity in those areas. Uh, I think it's a good way to end the career on. Hey, next slide. Okay, give me a sec. Okay. So conclusion, a recap of cover key points covered. I'll let Antonio take that one.
um, so what's what's the boil down? What can we take away from this? Don't be afraid to make connections with people that are in your related field, because you guys can choose to come together and make something really good. Um, you know, make find a way to make extra income. Um, outside of video game productions. I think there was someone. I think there was someone who had a discussion on exactly that. I wish I could have attended that, but I missed out. Um, but basically, you look to your peers and you guys can, come together and actually make some money. Maybe you're not business savvy, but maybe the person you partner with is. Um, yeah, and I guess the other thing is that's also important to take away is knowing your worth. Don't be afraid to um, get exactly what you feel you're worth. But I find that's also you gotta like there's the customer's budget and then there's what you're worth. Maybe find a happy middle. There you go. Yeah, that's good.
Next on our key point is appreciation from the audience and attention and support. Uh, for this, I always make sure when I'm doing sound design on my end, I always make sure that there's enough attention on there. But the support for the audience needs to be not overbearing them with a lot of stuff. Other than that, I'll let Tony take over that one.
Yep. I just want to thank you guys for coming out. I really appreciate you guys spending time and coming out here and listening to us and showing us your support. Thank you a lot.
Now let's open this up for questions and further discussion if anyone has any. Okay, if anyone doesn't have any anyone doesn't have any questions, I guess this is the end. I'm glad for everyone that came out. It was pretty late, but I appreciate everybody. Everyone have a good night.